I'm just a guy who loves Disney and has way too much time on his hands. If anybody from Disney is watching, please don't sue me. I'm here to rate, review, and describe all of your favorite things from the magical world of Disney. I'm File91e and welcome to my Disney News and Reviews. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Disney News and Reviews. I'm File91e and hey, I'm still in retro mode. This will be the last week for this. I kind of missed a week last month with the retro month, so I figured I'd do a little kind of a hangover right here. And for this this last week we'll do one last retro October sort of thing. Even though we're in November now, it's crazy. We're firmly in November. It was Halloween last week. I hope you guys enjoyed the Halloween episode. That was always fun to talk about. I love the spooky, spookiness and stuff like that. I always do a lot for my house. You can see some pictures there of my house, all lit up for Halloween. I like to make it a big spectacle. Come on now. I'm a Disney fan. Of course, I like spectacle. So that's pretty cool. In fact, the Where in the Land last week wasn't really a secret. It was Hallowishes, and I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Halloween there. I wasn't trying to stump you or anything. But if you've ever not seen Hallowishes, do check it out. It's really cool, especially during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Halloween Party in Disneyland. They have some really cool stuff and really cool effects. Now we're going to be back to normal for a couple months. Just reviewing Disneyland attractions and things like that. I don't really have too many special stuff coming your way. There will be a Christmas special, but it's not going to be talking about anything Christmassy because I don't think I have anything Christmassy aside from the Haunted Mansion holiday, but I did that last year. So I don't have anything really Christmassy for for this, but I'll still do it, have some fun, maybe do a live show or something like that. I don't know, maybe. I'm not even thinking about it right now. But it's hard to believe we're into Christmas. It's that time of year. God help us all. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me this week. Let's get right to the news. Well, like I said, Christmas is pretty much in all of the Disney parks now. The Osborne Spectacle of Dancing Lights made their first appearance of the season, along with the Jingle Cruise, actually. That has also set sail, so that's pretty cool in the Magic Kingdom and the Hollywood Studios. You should check them out. The Christmas tree in the Magic Kingdom, Santa Goofy appearances at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and other decorations are now up around all the different parks, and there's even the special Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom card, trading card that's being released for this year's Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. If you're into Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, it's Olaf's Snowbees or something like that. So that's pretty cool, so check that out. So be sure to hop on over to all your favorite Disney parks to check out all the Christmas goodies this season. So they pretty much transferred out of autumn and now fully into the whole Christmas episode. Although what's funny is there were still some photos of still being autumn, but Christmas stuff starting to go up, so there was a weird kind of blur, the lines blurred between all that stuff, so that was actually kind of neat. But Christmas is fully pretty much in the Disney parks right now. Disney has announced fresh details for the Na'vi River Journey coming to Pandora, the world of Avatar. This attraction's pretty cool. Opening in 2017, the Na'vi River Journey is the land's second attraction, offering a D-ticket class family river ride through Pandora's bioluminescent rainforest. Now, what D-ticket means, it's not the pinnacle ride of that land, but it's still fun and it's going to be great. So it's just one less. It's essentially like 4 stars. That's what they're calling it here. The river cruise will also will provide an alternative experience for those guests who may not wish to experience the land's more thrilling Avatar Flight of Passage attraction. That's the big one. And judging by the promotional pictures, it looks to be quite amazing, as you can see. So it's pretty neat. Really cool stuff. I'm really excited to see how this Avatar land takes shape. And finally, Epcot guests got a sneak peek into the Epcot's latest Innovations exhibit as construction walls came down around Colortopia for a promotional photo shoot. Colortopia, presented by Gladden, takes guests on an interactive hands-on color experience. There are 3 hands-on areas: the Power of Color, Color Our World, and Color Mix and Match. Those are interesting little areas. Also, part of the exhibit is a phone app which takes the exhibit out and around the rest of Epcot. The construction walls have returned with an opening expected toward the end of the month, this month, November. So I'll be sure to get more information when it becomes available. Overall, it just seems pretty interesting, and you know, they're still trying to, you know, add in all these different exhibits for Interventions, because Interventions is struggling mightily. So who knows, maybe this will be cool for people. I'm not totally sure. But either way, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, that's the news for this week. Let's get right to the reviews. Alright everybody, now like I said, this is still the retro month. This is kind of like a hangover from retro month, and because I missed a week for you guys, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, we got a full month in for retro rides. And I wanted to talk to you about 2 rides that a couple of you have been wanting me to talk about again. There's 2 retro retro Epcot rides, which are actually were 2 of my favorites when I went down as a kid, and that is the World of Motion and Horizons. So I've already reviewed these, and I kind of took you through the ride itself in that, and I figured, what could I do that's a little different? I don't want to talk about the same stuff again. I can kind of talk to you about, you know, why they went away, and why, you know, Mission Space and Test Track were put there. I don't have any real backside, you know, or, you know, insider information or backdoor, you know, backstage and, you know, information, that sort of thing. But I can just kind of offer you my take on it, and what I would do with Test Track and Mission Space, the rides that are there. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is the World of Motion. This is kind of my continuation of talking about that. This was an opening day attraction for Epcot. It opened on October 1st, 1982, and it was one of the many different attractions there at Epcot on the opening day. Epcot was meant to be this future, this futuristic world. There were different pavilions that you would go to, and you would see all kinds of different things. The land pavilion, the universe of energy, the living seas, that sort of thing, and this one was the World of Motion. So it was all about the history of transportation. Now, it was the sponsorship for this was GM. GM did a 10-year contract to kind of outdo Ford, because Disney had built a Ford attraction for the 1964 World's Fair. So, of course, GM wanted to kind of outdo Ford and said, you know, we'll sign a 10-year contract for this attraction. We'll sponsor this attraction, make it awesome. And what's funny is that, you know, both rides are kind of similar, because they took you in a car and took you through about the history of transportation. Although this was a little bit more geared toward GM and stuff like that, obviously. Now, like I said, this took you through a more humorous look at the world of transportation. It was designed by Ward Kimball. Sorry, I get those two mixed up sometimes. This was designed by Ward Kimball, and you can actually see some of his humor in the attraction, like the used cart salesman and stuff like that, and the world's first traffic jam, that sort of thing. Those are all, you know, they're not real, but obviously Ward Kimball wanted to, put some gags in there. And overall, the attraction was pretty interesting. You know, you hopped in a car and you went up and around and through this thing. It was an Omnimover type attraction, and it was very fun. It was a very fun attraction. I love Omnimover rides. I think they kind of separate Disney from other, amusement parks, because when people think of amusement parks, they think of roller coasters and stuff like that. When they think of Disney, they get a whole theme experience. They actually might wind up learning something while still being very, very entertained. Now, this actually closed before Horizons did, because of failing sponsorship, and they kind of wanted a new attraction there. GM was, going through it. It really wasn't, holding up too well. And they wanted just a sponsor, or an attraction that focused only on the cars that they were making, kind of like a, live commercial. Instead of just the history of transportation. They didn't really care about that. They wanted something that only focused on cars. So it's actually funny. During its final ride, its final go through, there were all these special people from GM and everything. And during its final go around, the ride broke down. That's right. The ride broke down, and all these important people had to get ushered out the exit and the back ways and stuff like that. I just thought that was pretty funny. The fact that that had to happen, kind of a bummer. But the fact was around that time, Epcot was kind of being it wasn't really being kept up too well. Disney at that time really wasn't doing the best that they could do. They were just starting their resurgence, and they really didn't care too much about the parks around that time. Yes and no, they were doing stuff with Tomorrowland and stuff like that. It just seemed like they were having trouble keeping up with everything. Nowadays they're kind of on the ball with everything. They're planning years in advance, and Epcot's actually kind of in this weird stasis right now where it's waiting for a good kind of refurbishment. So hopefully the way they're doing or the way they did the Magic Kingdom, the way they did Hollywood Studios with the new Star Wars Land stuff, they'll do the same thing with Epcot and give it a good facelift, and hopefully update some of these attractions. Now, because this closed, this actually forced Horizons, the thing that I'm going to be talking about next, to reopen for a little bit, because Epcot was really hurting for some for some rides. Horizons really wasn't doing too well, and they were going to just shut that down. But then after this had to be shut down, they were like, okay, we'll keep Horizons afloat for a little a couple more years until we can build Test Track. And so that was the thing that they came up with. GM said, okay, let's we want something that has to do with cars, and they invented Test Track. I'm not sure how I feel about Test Track 2.0. I've never actually been on it. I'm sure I'll get in and have some enjoyment with it. But really, when I got on Test Track, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was with all the hype that they were putting on this, Test Track to me was just kind of an okay ride. It seemed more of like a commercial for what the the cars GM can do, rather than an actual experience. I think that's what happens when you kind of put money and sponsorship in front of an actual attraction. I think every attraction should have kind of a good story, and it should like that story should be ahead of the sponsorship and ahead of the thrillness of it. But then again, back in the 90s, that's kind of what people wanted. They wanted thrill rides and excitement and going crazy. That's kind of the way the 90s were. So we're still trying to deal with the fallout from that. But would I bring back the World of Motion? In a way, but maybe in a way that could appeal to both thrill seekers and traditionalists. There's the motion and transportation are very big. It's a whole big world there, and I think they could explore a lot and do some fun things with that. Maybe have some interactive experiences, kind of like Test Track 2.0. I do like the fact that you can build a car, and you might actually learn something about the car that you build, but maybe have the car that you built be actually means something to the actual attraction, instead of just going through the same course that you've been on 1,000 times with Test Track. I'm not sure what they could possibly do. I do know that they would need to address it, because I don't know how popular it is. I know Test Track does have a lot of wait times, but that's only mainly because it's considered a thrill ride. It's the only thrill ride in Epcot. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. So I'm not going to rate World of Motion. I've already rated it. I don't really remember what I rated it. It's what I was sad to see it go, but I do think they could do more with it. It was needed. It needed a necessary facelift, and I think they tried to with Test Track. And we'll just have to see what Test Track 2.0 is like when I go down next year, and I'll be able to give you a good assessment on that. But the World of Motion was fun. I do highly recommend you go check all those old videos out. There's a guy on here, you can Google it, Martin's Vids. He did like a whole history of the World of Motion and all that stuff, and he also did one for Horizons, which takes you through the entire history of the attraction, and you can actually learn a lot more than whatever I could have said right here. Believe me, I'm just kind of telling you about this place. So yeah, there you go. So the World of Motion, do get it, do check it out. It's a shame that that it had to go, but it did have to go. It was failing miserably, But it did have that old school flair to it. I love the Omnimover type of thing. Maybe they could bring that back, kind of along with it. I'm not sure what they could do. But if you have any ideas for what they could do with that motion section of Epcot, post them in the comment section below. I would love to hear what your ideas are. So there you go, the world of motion.
And now, a random Disney fact with File91e.
In Epcot, the World Showcase Promenade stretches 1.2 miles, and the World Showcase Lagoon spans 40 acres.
And that was a random Disney fact with File91e.
Alright, now we're going to move on to one of the attractions that I really enjoyed, even more than the World of Motion and all that stuff. One of the ones that I was kind of upset that they removed, and that is Horizons. Now Horizons opened a year later than everybody else, or than everything else. They were still building it, and Horizons was interesting because it actually encompassed all of the different elements of Epcot into one attraction. The whole idea of this was that this was supposed to be like the sequel to the World of, or the Carousel of Progress. Like, here's what we have now, and now Horizons was, here's what we could do with it, with our knowledge and hope for the future. I like that. I like that idea. The movie Tomorrowland, I just watched the movie Tomorrowland again. It's a bad movie. Well, maybe it's not a bad movie, but a lot of people didn't like it. But the one thing I did like about Tomorrowland was the aspect of hope, and that we can do anything we want to do. We can make the world a better place by just doing and creating and being creative, and and moving forward and taking risks and stuff like that. Because it seems like the world now has kind of stagnated, and come into this, it's okay if the world ends, we'll be fine, whatever, that sort of thing. So I like that idea of hope, and that element of hope, and that's what kind of Horizons was all about. Like, you could hop on this, it's an Omnimover type attraction, and you would go through kind of space and where we could possibly go. It showed you a possible history, or a possible future of where, of what we could do. And one of the cool things about it was it would ask you, what future do you like? You would press one of 3 buttons, and you would see on their monitor there, all the different, the future sort of thing that you could possibly do. It's kind of the same way as Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth has that kind of same feeling, and I think that's why I like Spaceship Earth so much, because they kind of merged a lot of what Horizons was in with Spaceship Earth, and how we can move forward and do amazing things. So that's what Horizons was. It was a really cool place. It had that kind of diamond pyramid shape to it. It looked like the logo itself, that kind of, like whew, that sort of thing, that whew. And it was cool. I really enjoyed that attraction because I like that element of hope. I always have. But in the 90s, in the mid 90s, the sponsorship dropped from it, and it kind of, was failing. They were about to nix it, but like I said, the World of Motion kind of crapped out, and they had to bring this back, for a couple more years, until finally in 1999 they officially dropped it and said Horizons is no more. And then they demolished the building. Now, a lot of people have said, I've heard different rumors, that it was mainly because of the sponsorship dropping, but also the fact that there was structural integrity of the building was compromised, so they had to demolish all of that and just start something, completely new. So they, figured that Horizons dealt with space, and this would be the space area. Where could we go, using space? So they came up with Mission Space, this interesting kind of centrifuge, space simulator. And it's become very popular, or it was very popular, because it was one of the big 2 thrill rides in Epcot. Now, if you do want to see some more aspects of Horizons, they do have that, in the waiting area of Mission Space, in the middle of that big wheel, right there is the Horizons logo. You can see the Mesa Verde sticker on at the exit of Space Mountain in the Magic Kingdom. On this bit of luggage, you can see that as you're exiting, you can see Mesa Verde. That's a big thing. And they haven't quite gotten rid of Horizons, fully, but they did get rid of the actual ride, because a lot of people really loved this attraction. It was kind of a fan favorite. It wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but I think a lot of people like me like that message of hope, and that idea of we could do a lot with our future. And I think we need to bring that back. That's why I kind of would love Horizons to come back, or at least something of that nature, just because we need to instill. I think that's what Epcot really should do, is embrace the future and where we could go. With if we just hoped and willed it, and actually got down to down and dirty to work with it, I think we could, make the world a better place and kind of reverse what we're doing right now. There's a lot of doomsday people out there. The fact that we have a TV show called Doomsday Preppers kind of shows you where we're going as a group of people. I think I'd rather not worry about where what's inevitable, but actually try to fix it. And I think we can, if we just try and believe in ourselves enough. I know it's hard to do, especially in today's political climate and stuff like that. It's hard to, because everybody's kind of hating on one another. But I think if you kind of put that out of your head and focus and try to find the positives in things, you actually could. Now, Mission Space is okay. The fact that it can be, kind of harsh for some people. The fact that they split it up into two separate attractions. You got the orange ticket, which is the very intense, where you feel the G-forces and everything. And then you got the green ticket, which is everything but the G-forces. You still kind of hop into this very thing. It can be a little claustrophobic. It is kind of fun. I do like the idea that, of going to Mars. I do think that's a big thing on the horizon for people. So I don't mind it. I don't mind this area being kind of a space theme sort of thing, because I do think that is our future. And the fact that we're starting to learn more about Mars, NASA's starting to do some pretty cool things with the rovers and stuff, means that I think we're kind of headed into a good direction. I think people want to go back into space and still to come up and dream new things. We're still looking for dreamers out there. It seems that like a lot of the dreamers have kind of either passed on or are in hiding somewhere. But so if you're a dreamer, keep dreaming and go reach for the stars. And who knows, maybe you could one day impact the earth in a positive way, whether it be, with your art, engineering, whatever. Moving, all of that, can actually be really cool. So I really, that's what I got from Horizons, and that's why I kind of wanted Horizons, to be back. That's why I have fond memories of it. Yes, I do understand that at some point it would have had to have been updated and that sort of thing, and this is a kind of a good way to update it, with Mission Space. But I do think they could add some more to it, and maybe even with this renovation of Epcot that's inevitable to to come, make it so that the idea of hope for the future, rather than if focusing on what we did wrong, just hope for the for the future, and teaching people that it's okay to believe in humanity. Could be a really cool thing. I think that message was just kind of has been lost over the course of so many years. But yeah, that's what Horizons was, and what Horizons meant to me, and what it is now. I did a review on that way later, or way earlier, and you can see that. It takes you through the whole ride and everything. I didn't kind of want to talk about it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it today, what those two attractions meant to me. They have gone the way of the dodo, and right now Mission Space and, like I said, Test Track 2.0 are in their places. So when you go to Epcot next time and you see Mission Space over there and Test Track over there, try to envision this big grand Horizons thing and the World of Motion over there, and think about the evolution of it, and where we could go in the future, because that's kind of what the whole idea of Epcot is. So there you go. Those are my opinions on what Epcot, Epcot is, Horizons is, and the World of Motions is. If you have any opinions on that, you can post them in the comments section below. Again, not every amusement park has to be thrill rides and woohoos and ha-has. Things that mean the most to people are the things that make you think a little bit more about, think a little deeper, dig a little deeper, as the Princess and the Frog said, dig a little deeper, think a little more about, what you can actually get from an attraction, rather than just woohoos and ha-has, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's what that's Horizons, and hope that wasn't too long-winded and it made a little bit of sense to you. If it didn't, well, I'm sorry. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel with Retro Month, but you guys wanted to hear my opinions on the World of Motion and Horizons. So there you go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Disney news and reviews. Again, this is the end of Retro Month, so we'll be back to normal for the next couple. I do believe this next show is the big one. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a week off next week and then do the big one the week after. I think that's what I'm going to wind up doing, but I'll let you know more. So I might take a week off next week and then do the big 300th episode the week after. I think that's what I'm going to do, just so I can prep it and get it right. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. And I got a new laptop. Actually, this is my first laptop ever, so I should be able to actually move around and edit now, so that's pretty cool. Might actually do something while I'm down in Disney World next year, so that should be fun. Either way, it should be a good time. And yeah, so there you go. And if anybody from Disney is watching, please don't sue me. I want people to go to Disney World or Disneyland and have a great, fantastical time, because your parks are a lot different than other amusement parks in the fact that you actually provide hope, and you might actually learn something in your parks rather than just get your thrills and all that stuff. You can go to Six Flags for thrills. You go to Epcot, to Epcot and the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland and all that other stuff for a true, honest-to-God story experience. And that's why I love it so much. And if you are going to Disney World or Disneyland, be sure to go to ours.net, touringplans.com, wdwmagic.com for our latest and greatest Disney news. WaltDisneyWorld.com and Disneyland.com are great because straight from the horse's mouth, they have everything that you could ever want. And MiceChat.com is where I get a lot of my Disneyland news, so go to MiceChat.com. Very good stuff there. So yeah, I might miss next week. Just letting you know, T-shirts are still available, so follow the link below, and for the T-shirts. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next week for another Disney news and reviews. Guys, where in the land am I this week? Bye bye.